How old is she now?
9.
Nice. What is that? What
9
is
going
she?
on 35.
Yeah. What did she want?
Oh, well, she woke me. Well, we had been talking about this for a few weeks, and she says she's no longer into, this is a direct quote, rainbows, unicorns, and sunshine. And so she wants...
She's wearing all black?
That's what I was like. I was hoping she was going to enter her goth era, but she said no, she's going to become preppy now. And so I told her to make a list of what she wanted. And so Saturday morning, she like kicks open my door and wakes me up and says she's made her list, and she had her pile of her old clothes. And we went through them and saved some for summer camp. And then, saw her list was very reasonable. So I took her to Target, and she was like a little busy bee at Target, and she went around and just picked out exactly what she wanted and put it in the cart.
So now she's in the prep club?
Now she's in the prep club. Yeah. I guess preppy means something a lot different nowadays than it did back when I was growing up.
What does it mean now?
I don't really know. Like, it's sort of like, because, athleisure wear seems to be a permanent fixture on the fashion scene. It's like a barnacle.
They didn't even have that when I was younger.
No, I mean, the closest thing I remember in the 90s was like those hideous matching tracksuits.
The starters.
Yeah. But so now it's kind of like that, but I won't let them wear performance fabrics to school. It's just so tacky. So
you're sounding old now.
I know. It's just so gross to me. Like, I think about it. It's like,
most guys that I've seen wear basketball shorts and like Crocs, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand, like, if you're going to the car wash, and you got to take your car in, that's fine. But, this can't be the ground floor we live on, is performance wear and Crocs or performance wear and Uggs. So, so she got some more tailored outfits, like tailored jeans and a tailored skirt. We had to get her new bathing suits, new pajamas. But, I have very strict rules about what I'll let them show up to school wearing, because it can get pretty ratchet quickly, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Well,
so that's pretty much
you're
what
not
we
at
did.
the age yet where the girl will leave the house wearing one thing and then be out wearing another.
Oh, with her hoe bag? No, not yet. Oh my God, I'd die. No,
Hoe
they're
bag.
too little.
That's funny. Did you have a hoe bag?
Oh,
No, you were always wearing prim and proper conservative dressing.
Oh, no. If you saw clothes from high school, you'd be like, what the fuck, Melissa?
I need to see some photos of you.
I wore the same thing though. I mean, at least I was consistent.
Yeah, I need to see some photos of you from high school.
I'll dig them up.
Can't imagine.
I'm sure I got some somewhere.
You're just like this version of you in my mind. So I've never seen any old photos.
Oh, funny. Yeah. No, I had fun in high school. I took some sewing lessons and made, I was such a slow sewer. I made only one dress, but I really loved it. I don't know what's happened to it. Probably got thrown away over the years, but it's like a baby doll dress. It was cool with my Doc Martens. It looked awesome.
Doc Martens.
Yeah. Oh, that's what she was saying. Yeah. Mary Jane's, like Doc Marten Mary Jane's, are now considered preppy. Like like when I was growing up, that was like, the goth, emo, new wave people wore that. Like,
yeah, you were gonna bomb a place if you were wearing Docs.
Yeah, so that's funny.
I have a pair of Docs, but I need to sell them because they're too big.
Yeah, they can be very clunky.
They run very big, and I've tried to overlook it, but I'm to the point where I'm just like, nope, they're too big.
Yeah. I told her I'd buy her a pair of Docs, and she was like, "Okay."
You still have a pair?
No, oh my God, do you ever have like a pile of memories that if you could go back in time, you'd correct? That's one of my memories. Yeah. Just before I married Mike, I was cleaning out my closet, and so just 10 years ago, I gave them away. I can't believe I did that. I'm so pissed.
Yeah. That takes me to something that I have found pretty effective with, as Eli would say, licking around the cupcake with a client. like a client that has avoidant tendencies is to use an analogy about a closet or usually it's an attic. I would go through this metaphor about an attic and cardboard boxes and how some of them have mildew all over them. Some of them are taped half shut. Some of them are mislabeled. There's dust everywhere. And this idea of if you keep just going and putting more boxes in your attic, it becomes overwhelming to clean out and sort through. And then going into decluttering the attic. And those boxes represent probably usually emotional memories. So you declutter the attic, you unpack certain boxes, you figure out, are they categorically accurate? Is it labeled correctly? Do I still want this in my attic? Maybe I want to take this to the dump or my parents' house or my creepy old uncle's house. And that seems to work a hell of a lot more effectively than talking about avoidance or telling them that they're being avoidant.
Oh, yeah.
That usually doesn't pan out very well.
No. So you're finding people joining you in that analogy?
Yeah, I've used that for years now. And I've never had a client with that one look at me like I'm crazy. Sometimes I'll do whimsical metaphor and they're like, what? But that one seems to resonate with most people. Because I think it's a pretty easy metaphor to relate to. Because everyone has an attic or a garage or a closet that's at some point has been stockpiled full of bullshit. Or maybe not even them, but their parents or there's something in their life they can imagine. So I think it takes them into, as you would say, their mind's eye. And if we can get a client to their mind's eye, they're going to take what we're saying a lot less confrontational. Because they're almost in this other kind of panning view, as opposed to looking right at me and I'm calling them out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you definitely have to get your clients to join you in these metaphors and trust that you have their best intentions at heart. Like when a client made this comment to me, and I never really thought of EMDR this way, but she had mentioned having phobia of a certain memory. And she goes, but I trust you, Melissa. I trust that you're not going to, like in exposure therapy, take the spider out of the box and just throw it on me. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, that was just so stunning to hear that like a metaphor of EMDR. But yeah, absolutely. No, would not do that to somebody.
I think, is the mic moving or something?
I'm moving my chair.
Oh.
Okay, let me see.
It's starting to sound like you're in a submarine. That makes me think about at least client report of how other therapists have been. It does seem like we, as a profession, just because we can ask a pointed question doesn't mean that we should in that moment.
No, you should definitely know your intention before asking a question.
And have a plan and some rationale and a relationship that can support that type of journey.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because
that's fundamental.
If we're not trauma informed, we think we need to go in with a knife and just like cut out some kind of trauma. But then that can re-traumatize the person. And then even so, client doesn't always even have to talk about the trauma directly to heal.
No.
And I think that's a common misconception, is that in order to heal trauma, you need to talk about it directly.
Right. No, I mean, like with this client who has the phobia of this memory, I really don't even know what the memory is.
Doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
And
No.
as a therapist, we have to remember that, because I think it's pretty easy to think I need to know what happened in order to treat it. I need to know exactly what happened. And that can be a bit voyeuristic.
Yeah. No. So what are you studying right now in your practice?
What am I studying? How to get more clients. I had a busy January, and then February just dropped. I lost like 6 people. So what am I studying? I would say I have a number of clients that I wouldn't say they're pre-contemplative, but their adolescents and their parents have recommended them to attend therapy. And they're more on the avoidance side of reflection. And so I'm in this process of selling therapy in a way.
To get their buy-in.
Right. And so, and that can be a tough process. And I think I rely heavily on my experience in internship and community mental health with all the pre-contemplative clients to get their buy-in. So I think it'd be easy to say, oh, well, you're okay. Like everything seems fine. You don't need to come anymore. But it's not true, because if you sit and listen and reflect, it becomes evident that their socialization is impacted, or developmentally they're the age of 17 and have zero experience with dating or engaging with the opposite sex. So you can see how over time the iteration of avoidance will become more and more impactful on them, but it's not creating vast unmanageability today. So trying to get them to see, where does this lead long term, and what am I maybe unaware of? What are the adaptations to the avoidance? Like, who am I authentically, and what is the adaptation? So with this particular client, his younger brother was adopted and is high needs, a lot of behavioral issue. And so he's just recently begun to create the connection that his avoidance and scaffolding to convince himself that he doesn't have needs has been an adaptation to stay out of the way and allow his system to focus more heavily on the high needs child.
That's very wise of his parents to put him into therapy.
Yeah, I don't think they have that conceptualization fully, but they knew that he seemed a bit withdrawn.
And so has this client revealed anything about his wants and needs or his concerns
no, he doesn't have any
within the system? Okay, so he's still
he still
in
doesn't have any.
It's just safer not to have wants and needs. I wonder why that is. Like, why is it safer to not have wants and needs?
It could be a couple things. I think one part is he's the moving away. So there was, what is it? Some book. It's the moving against and the moving away is our way of relating to people. So the moving against would be, I'm always going to buck back against the system and people and speak my mind. I just tell the truth. And the moving away could be the minimization of needs, or the passivity, or the invisible cloak. So I think if I were him at the house, I would hear yelling and conflict and I would just go to my room and maybe study and do homework so that they don't have to come in and check on me. They're really busy out there. They have got their hands full. I want to make sure my parents don't have to worry about my grades. I'm going to set an example.
Oh, okay. So when you say yelling and conflict, what is that about?
He doesn't seem to have a lot of descriptives. They're more vague. I don't think he invests so much into what the conflict actually is. So I think the avoidance activates so quickly.
So do you think that like the sibling with the behavior problems, the parents get emotionally dysregulated by the behavior problems?
It doesn't sound like that's a constant, but it sounds like it happens.
Okay, so there just may not be like relational safety with his own parents to even have wants or needs, or to have trust that if he were to vocalize something, they would get met.
Yeah, and then the younger sibling often acts out in anger.
Oh, so it's not safe.
Rage.
Oh, okay.
Throws shit.
Oh, shoot. So it's not just about the system with the parents. It's also about him with the sibling that's not safe.
And then a lot of moving around as well, I think contributes.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's just biding his time until he gets out of there.
Yeah, I think he's angry.
Yeah, because the whole family seems to be, I mean, you see this in addict families too. They all, like the families can kind of rally around the person with the addiction and ignore the healthy children.
Yeah. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Yeah.
There's this podcast I was listening to on the way back. It's on Apple Podcasts, probably everywhere. It's called Hooked, and it's a guy that robbed 30 banks.
Oh my God. Seattle.
And I thought I was just going to be like, I don't know, a Crime Stopper show or something. Mm-hmm. But the producer and journalist did a really good job of allowing the story to be the informer in terms of how he navigated the story, which I think back to being a counselor. Right? You might have a client come in with, or no, most of the time you can have a client come in with a specific presenting problem. Mm-hmm. And then if you sit and listen, you realize, oh, there's a lot of other avenues that are important to discover. Mm-hmm. But this guy that had robbed 30 banks had an addiction. And so he did a pretty effective preview of Purdue Pharma and the opiate epidemic and the pill mills, mm-hmm. and the way in which they marketed to physicians and got buy-in so that they were then, and they apparently Purdue created ghost studies about they claimed a 1% addictive rate.
Purdue University?
Purdue Pharma.
Purdue Pharma.
That owns like all Oxycontin.
Oh, okay.
But they had ghostwriters claim 1% addictive rate.
So they just falsified the research, or they didn't even do research. It sounds like
they couldn't have.
Okay.
Or I mean, I guess they could have. They could have just falsified all the evidence. I don't know, but he went through that, and then it went through the family system dynamics and how this guy, he was an engineer at Boeing for 20 years and then fell and had a back injury, was prescribed something, and then over the course of 2 years, 10 milligrams went to 120. And then he obviously started using it differently so that he could get the effects more effectively. And then he's running out of his script. And so he then attaches to his son because his son was already using heroin. They get homeless. Then he gets attached to his wife leaves. Then he gets attached to his mother. So he finds these like codependent players that are hovering around. But it was very contextualized.
Oh, that's fascinating. So tell me about Rage. How was Rage a player in this podcast, in his story?
For him, the only way I could see that his mom was on it's Medicaid, right?
Yeah.
Medicare is when Medicaid is when you're older.
No, other way around. Yeah, Medicaid is for like poverty-stricken folks.
Medicaid, yeah.
Yeah.
She was probably on both, but Medicaid, and she would struggle with bills, and then the banks would do overdraft fees, and they would have it set up to where it would hit the account 3 times before you could get it equalized. And he would go into these banks all pissed, trying to protect his mother. And there was like a no bend policy. And so he got a little bit philosophical on the rich staying richer and the poor getting poorer, and how there's all these systemic designs to do so. And he said that wasn't the main reason he started robbing banks, but I do suspect that was quite a big motivator.
Yeah, because there's I don't know if you know, Sarno's work. He was the one who came up with this, Dr. Sarno. He came up with the app called Curable. It's a whole program on how to manage pain, like doing your own psychotherapy. And I think he's done a lot of research that, and then other people who talk about pain and its relationship to suppressed emotions, is that back pain, like incurable, intractable, seemingly incurable, intractable back pain, is related to rage. So yes, I mean, there might be like bona fide biological origins of the back pain, but there is a relationship, per this research, that suppressed rage exacerbates back pain.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't really go into much of that yet.
So then back pain becomes kind of like a conversion disorder.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, you could probably look at an MRI and be like, oh yeah, I can see your vertebrae really is screwed up here. But I think that's what makes it even more confounding.
But it just showed the gravity of addiction's pull, because he was only getting $1,000 to $2,000 each time he went to a bank. And he never had a gun or anything. He was just like, large bills, please.
Did he get federal prison time?
Yeah, but he must have gotten out. I don't know how. He got out in 6-7 years.
Well, that would probably jive with the federal guidelines on sentencing for bank robbery, because if he was only pulling like $1 to $2 grand each time and he robbed 30 banks, so 30 banks or 30 times. I guess
30 times, and he went to the same bank a couple times.
Okay, so 30 times. So 30 times 2 is 60. So yeah, so that'd be about 8 years in federal prison.
So looking just at the money is like a sentencing?
Yeah, so the amount you steal is correlated to the amount of federal prison time you get. So 60 grand would only give you like maybe it depends on how, and then if you use a gun, then you get an 8-year automatic enhancement.
But the journalist was very good at his own self-reflection and disclosing what his biases and assumption of addiction were, and would discuss how that expanded. And because he talked to the actual guy for years before these podcast episodes came out. And so it was his own developmental model being exposed about addiction.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Because it does get to this state of survival where when you watch some wild fucking movie about, an apocalypse, and then people start looting and killing people and just doing crazy shit that they'd never do before, you're taking away their food and water, right? That's why all of that insane shit happens. And when you're in the throes of addiction at that level, it's very similar.
So it's like a primal response.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Can you hear this weed whacker?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of other podcasts. I've gotten a bit tired of music lately.
Yeah.
Weird.
I was listening to an interesting podcast. I don't know if you listened to Esther Perel. Where Shall We Begin? So she's a couples counselor. And yeah, that was really good. She's very good. It doesn't feel like work since I don't practice couples counseling, but I really like her style too.
Why don't you do some couples?
Oh my God, no. I haven't done couples counseling since.
I know it. I don't know why you think it's so much more.
I have no interest in it. None whatsoever. I think, yeah, I mean, because I know that EMDR can be adapted for couples. I'm not really sure because I'm not trained in that style. But I don't know, just not really interested.
Yeah.
Now I can't hear the weed walker now.
This fucking guy. Don't they know we're doing an episode? People. They're so inconsiderate.
Yeah.
What have you been researching or learning about?
I just finished a book study with one of my EMDR consultants on the Polyvagal Theory.
Nice.
Our polyvagal world and how to express that understanding to clients so that they can understand their own neurobiology. And that's been fascinating.
So explain polyvagal theory as if I'm a 10-year-old or your daughter's 9. Yeah. As if you were explaining it to your daughter. How would you describe it?
So, I mean, the vagus nerve runs from the base of our brain, so our brain stem, all the way to the base of our stomach. And it has branches that go to the dorsal and to the ventral and dorsal. And the theory is that the nerve and its branches is kind of divided into 3 categories of activation. So depending upon what you're experiencing, you could be in a ventral vagal state, which is known as the green zone. So we talk about this polyvagal traffic light, the green zone, where you feel safe and connected and relaxed. And this is where you can be friendly and jovial. But you have a neuroception of felt safety. And then the yellow zone is your sympathetic. That's the sympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system. That is fight, flight, or freeze and fawn, or fight, flight, and fawn. And then freeze is kind of the orange zone. So now we talk about this 4-colored traffic light with red, yellow, and orange and green. Orange is freeze, which is kind of a hybrid state of both your sympathetic and then your dorsal vagal state, which is the red zone. And that can be like when you've been in a yellow zone for a very long time, you just find yourself like doom scrolling on your cell phone or laying in bed watching Netflix. It's kind of like almost like a preparation for death, so to speak.
Damn.
But it's a reflection of having been stressed for a long time. Your body just sort of collapses.
I do that sometimes after a busy day at work.
Yeah, exactly. It's like checking out. And then the red zone is the dorsal vagal state where one can experience dissociation, for example, this numbing effect, autopilot, but also like maybe a more prolonged orange zone, like where there's more like staying in bed, having difficulty. It looks like depression, really, like having difficulty, doing one's work or engaging in activities because one is kind of shut down. So yeah, we're learning how to identify the energy that's in our bodies helps us then to make decisions to regulate so that we can find safety. And then from that point of safety, then you can make decisions about how to enter the world and interact with people.
So red, yellow, green, orange.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked about this before in the podcast with that chart. Yeah.
Yes, you made a nice organized chart.
Oh, no, I didn't make that. I wish I had. I'm not that smart. Didn't? No. I wish I had. I'm not that bright.
You can claim it. No one would know.
Oh, my God. We would know. the internet never dies. Yeah. So, I'm reading that book. I'm still reading it, even though I did the book study, but it's really it's very interesting. It helps normalize people's reactions. And that helps people then get a sense of control over what they're experiencing internally.
Yeah.
But the next venture for me is to do internal family systems, but I'm going to join the Canadian group. It's a lot cheaper than the American one.
Oh, you are going to do that?
Yeah.
I thought you said they were doing it in US dollar.
They are doing it in US dollars.
But it's still cheaper.
Isn't that illegal? That's got to be illegal. Yeah, it's still cheaper.
They're doing it in yen or whatever the Chinese. Isn't that currency? That's a pretty pricey currency, I think.
I have no idea.
Is it yen? I don't know. We need an intern to look this up.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that. That's because it seems I took a very interesting training recently called about blocking beliefs and protector parts and how to overcome blocking beliefs in the EMDR process. And so the presenter, the same lady with whom I'm doing the book study, she references internal family systems a lot because she's just now going through the training herself. And I was like, I got to get down to this because it's fascinating to be able to help people overcome dissociation, but through like a parts perspective rather than, well, I don't even know another way. I would think historically people have just sort of like shied away from dissociation, but that's just not very trauma informed. And when I say people, I mean therapists. So learning how to recognize it and how to get the clients to work with it.
Why do you think therapists historically have shied away from dissociation?
Well, because I think there's been this, like, at least with this one wacky dacky consultant I hired for a short period of time. God bless her. She's fucking crazy. But anywho, she had this, and I think a lot of therapists have been this way, is that somehow like dissociation, that we as a therapist are responsible for preventing our clients from entering a dissociative state. And that's
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. That's just not reality. We're not that magical or powerful. So instead, now the prevailing wisdom, at least the wisdom of the new consultant I've hired, is learn. I mean, obviously, you don't want to promote a situation where a client could dissociate. I mean, there's ways to help a client ground herself or himself and prevent that type of stress response, but it is going to happen, and it can happen very subtly. And so learning how to roll with that and understand it and understand its role in protecting the client from whatever feeling state is just behind the dissociation is more useful than trying to just straight up avoid it from happening, because clients have to be able to access their affect, their emotions, their body sensations in order to process memories in EMDR. But if they have a protector part that allows them to dissociate, then they can't access that material. And then you're kind of like in a loop, like a loop that doesn't ever resolve.
It'd be similar to trying to avoid a client's anxieties.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or their panic attack disorder.
Yeah. Exactly. It's all protective. And so understanding the nervous system from a polyvagal perspective can help clients not feel as though they're at the whim of their panic attacks or at the whim of their anxieties. They can feel like they have like more masterful control, like by identifying, okay, what zone am I in now? Okay, then what do I know has helped me historically to get out of the yellow zone and closer to green, or get out of red and closer to yellow? And those sort of decision-making points, like that's positive self-talk, is very transformative in helping clients develop a felt sense of internal safety.
Reminds me of a pet peeve I have, which is when someone says, that gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
It really bothers me. Because it's such a subtle thing to say, but it informs me of your worldview.
Yeah, that we have no control. We're just at the whim of our surroundings.
Yeah.
I mean, what do they say in the 12-step programs? The world is a trigger. So you have to be able to learn how to control yourself in a world full of triggers.
It's like, oh, I can't have any dishes in the sink. That gives me anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the external locus of control. But that's, what we're trying to do, right? Is rewrite those scripts so that the locus of control moves to the internal.
Yeah, because when we externalize, we're going to feel pretty unstable because there's millions of variables that I could externalize. Even sitting here talking to you, I can look on my desk and I can say, that coffee mug has been here for 2 days and there's coffee dried up on it. Like, I don't like that. I shouldn't have done that. That shouldn't be here. Like, why didn't I put that in the dishwasher 2 days ago?
Mm-hmm.
Or why are these picture frames on this desk? I could find something to create a sense of instability in me. And I've watched people do that kind of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think we've talked about this before, but like, externalizing it almost becomes a way of life for people.
Mm-hmm. But they'll frame it as a virtue where I just like things very orderly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm clean.
But then they never take responsibility for their own internal state.
That has projected them to be that way in the first place. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, that's nice.
No, I can't. I don't. I still fantasize about like moving to like my retirement house and Mike having his own bedroom and me having my own bedroom. Like, just so I can have it the way I want it.
But if you're listening and you find yourself often saying something gives you anxiety, I would challenge you to maybe ask yourself some questions about that. Like, what is happening right now internally? Or what is my assumption about this external thing? What am I anticipating? Like, what does this clutter represent for me?
But it might not even be the thing upon which they're projecting the anxiety.
True. That's why you got to inquire.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be they're really upset about some, tacky conversation they had with their mother that morning. And rather than talk about how that makes them feel or think about how that makes them feel.
And they may not be aware
yeah.
about the conversation affecting them because they're convinced that it's that their car hasn't been washed in a couple of days. Or their partner left a mess on the counter.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably another reason why I don't like couples counseling, because it's never really about the thing, right? So like if I wanted to take Mike to couples counseling for leaving the grill in the sink and the house now stinks like cooked meat, it's not really about that. It's never about the thing. There's always something that it represents.
Yeah. He doesn't care about me. I'm inconsidered.
Yeah, like
he gets to control what happens all the time.
Well, like, okay, yeah. So now you've left the grill in the sink, and you're not going to clean it. So now I have to clean it. So you're piling onto my workload.
You're like,
which is already
I've made
full.
all this sacrifice for you, and you leave this shit in the sink. Yeah, fascinating how an item in a sink can activate an attachment system.
Exactly. No, but for me, it's like, dude, I already have a mental load that is significant. And don't get me wrong, of all, like, I've only been married twice, so I can't really say of all my husbands, but I will say that, of the two husbands, he certainly takes on a significant share of the mental load. So I can't throw him under the bus and say he doesn't. But yeah, so it's frustrating but then again, he is the type of man who does dishes. So I can't say he doesn't either.
Yeah.
That's why you have to marry somebody willing to do the dishes.
Well, yeah, it represents something beyond that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that he's willing to be an equal adult participant in a household.
Like value scripts.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's very important because so many, and they're not wrong. I mean, like, you can't have a partner, whether that be a wife or a husband, who acts like an additional child.
You can.
Well, you can't. I mean, that's not successful over long term. I mean, that's just going to build resentment.
No, it's just meaning a lot of people do.
Oh, they do. But yeah, I mean, that's probably why, what is the percentage? Like 80% of divorces are initiated by women?
Mm. Yeah,
I think significant quantity.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it, for the tell me about your mother's sake, is the world has a lot of mama's boys. And they leave their nesting home as a child and they're looking for a new mommy.
Yeah.
And when you have like a helicopter mother or someone who's very enmeshed with their son, they're looking for that replacement.
Yeah. Yeah. And over time, I mean, who wants to have sex with that? Nobody.
But it's generational as well because, I mean, when you're looking at more conservative nuclear family systems, the guy went to work, came home, supper was on the table. Like, I don't think my grandfather did laundry one time from life to death. So his mom did all of his laundry, and he got married 18 or 19, and then my grandmother.
Yeah, I don't think my grandfather did either. But then over time, because he didn't participate, I know he mowed the lawn and did yard work and stuff like that.
Hell yeah, he's a man.
Traditional male stuff. But over time, by him not participating in the household, he almost became like a guest in his own house.
Mm.
Like not allowed to have a say in what gets hung on the wall or where the dishes are put in the cabinetry. And
which is also ineffective.
Yeah, exactly. No,
but that was fueled probably by like resentment.
I think it was just like very traditional, rigid gender roles.
Mm-hmm. Reminds me of those couples I see in Waffle House.
Yeah.
It's like the old Southern couple, no conversation. They've got like this fucking smug look on their face, just seething resentment.
I couldn't do it. I can't do it.
You ever seen those couples in diners?
No, I don't go to diners, but I think I know what you're talking about. No, I can't do it. No, my uncle and my aunt, they don't have any children, but my uncle he wants to be involved in all decisions about the house. And I just found that fascinating because my first husband, not really, no. Like I could have painted, I remember I repainted the entire downstairs and like he didn't even notice. And he might have said something like a few weeks later, but like he just was not involved. That was a sign, many signs, but no,
a sign of many signs.
Yeah, but Mike is not that way. He wants to be involved. He wants to know, like, yeah, he has an opinion, and that's good. I'm glad he's focused and involved. He's got to scrub that damn grill.
Well, is this grill in the sink currently?
Yeah, I smelled it this morning because he cooks himself like this, like breakfast steak many days of the week. And it just the smell just permeates the house. Yeah. And I'm very sensitive to smell, and I cannot stand waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to the smell of cooking meat. That's just
Are you like that woman we hired once?
Oh, I'm very much like her. I am her.
She's like, there's this noxious smell in here.
There was a noxious smell in that building. That was a sick building. That building had mold. I swear to you, it did. Yeah. I had to take Claritin every day in that building. That building was grody to the max.
Mold and COVID. We had a nice concoction there.
We did, didn't we?
And we survived.
Oh, we should get compensation.
Yeah.
Well, I got to go to my next appointment. I think you got an 11 o'clock too.
It's 12, but we're good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got 11. All right. Well,
I'll see if the weed whacker was too loud.
Yeah.
But we already have another one set up. So I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.